My name is Alice. It is 1950, I am 15 years old, and I live in the country of Latvia in Eastern Europe. Ever since the Soviet Union took major control of our region and became the strongest nation in Europe following the defeat of Germany in World War II, many changes have occurred here economically, politically, and in our everyday lives. We are now in a period of Cold War with the Western countries, a time we have no political cooperation or trade. The political differences between the Western European countries and all of the Soviet-controlled countries have given rise to an invisible wall between the regions that people are calling the Iron Curtain. This isn't a real curtain like hangs in our window. This curtain is a political barrier that has isolated the people of Eastern Europe in the years following World War II, and has restricted their ability to travel outside the region. It is hard for my family to travel far. We can no longer easily take a boat to visit our cousins living in Finland, or receive any of the special treats they used to send me. Worst of all, my grandmother in America has had a hard time getting around restrictions to visit us here at home. Within my country and the other Soviet-controlled nations, the Russian government wishes to impose their own form of government. The Soviets practice communism. I learned from what they have taught us in school that communism is an economic and political system in which property is owned collectively and labor is organized in a way that is supposed to benefit all the people. The government now makes sure we are loyal to communism and the Soviet Union through means of both politics and force. They control us politically by creating puppet governments, a government that does what it is told by an outside force. The local government here reports directly back to and follows commands from the Soviets in Russia. While my father still has the opportunity to vote, all other political parties have been outlawed, and he can only choose from one communist candidate for each government position. This is an example of what a one-party system is. My father is outraged by this limiting system. He sometimes complains to his friends, but my mother wishes he wouldn't, since the Soviet officials would have him jailed for expressing these views that they do not like. To lose my father to imprisonment would be devastating. I fear this happening to him, or that he would ever be forced into the Soviet army. My family has never been wealthy, but we used to own a large family farm many years ago. However, the Soviet Union wanted to strengthen its government by controlling agriculture, and my family was forced to give in to pressures to move to a collective farm. Collective farms are government-owned farms in the Soviet Union that employ a large amount of workers. All of the crops produced at these massive farms are distributed by the government. Oftentimes, the share of food my parents receive from working there is not enough to feed our family. I am grateful that, in spite of the hard time we have making ends meet, I am still able to attend lessons. Similarly, the government controls the factories and dictates where and what types are built, how many products are produced, and where they are distributed. Because of this, there are shortages in the amount of goods produced. When rare-to-find essentials like bread and shoes do become available in our town, our mother must wait in a line so long that it lasts most of the day in order to purchase them. It has gone beyond just losing control of our government and economic practices that we enjoyed in previous independence. The Soviets have also sought to replace the ethnic and cultural identities of our people. In order to prevent us from wanting to break away from the Soviet Union, they encouraged a strong national identity where we thought of ourselves not as Latvians, but as Soviets. As a way to spread its own ideals, the Soviets have distributed many forms of propaganda, material that is designed to spread certain beliefs. Posters with colorful artwork are hung around town, pamphlets encouraging communist thoughts distributed. In the larger cities, there are statues of famous communist leaders, and many songs and films praise communism, the USSR, and its heroes. Artists and writers are often banned or censored, and all forms of media are controlled. News about Western countries is hard to come by, and I learn very little about nations outside of the Union. My family no longer speaks in our native Latvian tongue. Ethnic Latvians are often severely persecuted, and Russian is encouraged at my school. And many of our holiday and cultural celebrations are now banned by prosecution. The Soviet government has destroyed many religious buildings. Our own church used to bring us solace from our sadness in the changing times. Our pastor told us to find God and family identity above all, before our own church was leveled. Our pastor and other religious leaders have also not been seen since. It is presumed they've met the death sentences that others have met.